My name is Jamin. I'm your first friend in Alaska. I'm an associate real estate broker in South Central Alaska. Today we're going to be talking about the 4 biggest changes that are going to be coming to Alaska in the near future. And keep in mind, these are the 4 big changes that I see coming. I'm sure there are some changes that are just beneath the surface that I'm not aware of yet because, I know this is going to be a surprise. I don't know everything in this state, but these are just kind of the big things that I can see from my perspective. So before we get started though, get this video like, subscribe, do all that good stuff, leave a comment down in the comment section down below, and let's go ahead and get into today's video. All right, the first thing that I see here is the passing of the homeless ordinance over in Anchorage. So I'm sure this is not a surprise to anyone who's been kind of watching headlines and kind of trying to figure out what Anchorage is all about, but there's definitely been a homeless population issue in Anchorage in the past years, and the Assembly really stepped up recently in an effort to try to rectify that and try to come up with a solution. So what they did is they actually came out with an ordinance that now says that camping on public land within a certain amount of feet of a solid walled structure is now a crime. Okay, so what that means is no longer do the cops have to go through this long process of going through the civil courts and, trying to take like weeks or months to even get people out of an area if some homeless people are just camping where they shouldn't be camping. Now it is a crime, and they see it and they can swoop in and apprehend them. So what this ordinance specifically said, though, is that people they're not just going to get rounded up and then immediately shipped off to jail, blah, blah, blah. That's not how it was written. The way the ordinance is written is that once they are apprehended, they get one of 2 choices. Number 1, they can get clean and they can go through rehab and all the programs that are available, but they just don't want to. But now they have to do it, or they can go to jail. But either way, they're going to be getting clean and they're going to be getting off the streets. And that's how the ordinance is written. We'll see how it's actually enforced by the Anchorage Police Department. But as of right now, that is how the ordinance is written, and we'll just see how it plays out. But if that is actually enforced to the letter of the law, then you're going to see a big decrease, I believe, in the homeless population in Anchorage. And you're probably also going to see a lot of homeless people kind of fleeing from Anchorage and trying to go to places like the Mat-Su Valley, where they don't have those policies yet, but they also don't have the infrastructure to support a bunch of homeless people either. So that could be kind of a big impact, specifically looking at the South Central area. The second big development I see happening is developing of the Port McKenzie. And this is pretty big. So this was kind of championed by Nick Begich not too long ago. I think this is great. So if you're in the Mat-Su Valley, this is good news because they're increasing the capacity of Port McKenzie at the tune of, they're spending about $7.8 million from the Department of Transportation in order to do this, to really broaden out the capabilities of Port McKenzie. So Port McKenzie is a kind of a docking area over on the Mat-Su Valley side of the inlet. So if you're in Anchorage, you look right across the inlet there, and there's the Mat-Su Valley. Well, the Mat-Su Valley does have their own port over there. It's just not very well developed. So by broadening it out and increasing its capacity, that is going to create more jobs, and it's going to create more capacity for adding in more railroad opportunities, much heavier freight that can be going through there. And it's going to really decrease the reliance that the Mat-Su Valley has on Anchorage. And this might just be the start of kind of a movement of becoming way less reliant on Anchorage, the Mat-Su Valley becoming way less reliant on Anchorage. So I'm definitely in favor of that, and communities becoming a little bit more independent from each other. Some other projections of where this might go would be increasing the capacity of the area to have a petrochemical or LNG plant over there, along with having kind of a fuel tank farm. And it also really decreases, I should say, the transportation of industries that are on the interior. So really for the entire region, like the expansion of what the capabilities of this port are is huge. And also, this might just be the tip of the iceberg, and we might be seeing some more development at the Port McKenzie port here in the near future. All right, let's take a break here real quick. Those of you who've been watching for a bit, you do know that I have a podcast called the Alaskan Journey Podcast, and that is either going to be on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We have the video version on this YouTube channel. But either way, the purpose of it is to answer the questions people have as they're moving to Alaska by talking with people who currently live here and just, pretty much shooting the breeze with them and seeing what they think about living in Alaska. So it's about as really an authentic of a discussion as you can get, free of all the hyperbole and, off-grid people that are going to make Alaska sound like a cartoon. But anyway, yes, make sure you go check that out. And also, just kind of a quick PSA, I do actually make my living off of helping people buy and sell real estate. You see a ton of content, online from me. And a lot of people have kind of started to think, well, that must be his main thing now. It is not. The income I get from YouTube does not even cover the cost of editing. So if you are looking to buy, sell, or invest in Alaska, do feel free to reach out to me. That is how you can support this channel. Okay. Got my self-serving PSA out of the way. Let's go ahead and keep moving forward to the last two big changes I see coming to Alaska. All right, the third big development that I see happening is really kind of coming from the big, beautiful bill. They just got passed in Washington. I think it was about a month and a half ago. Okay, love it or hate it, or whether you are, a big fan of Trump or not, the fact of the matter is that in the big, beautiful bill, there's some provisions in there for opening up development for ANWR to really get to a lot of the oil that is available on the North Slope. And it's a lot. Okay, that is huge. Alaska by itself could very easily take care of the entire United States for its oil needs. And so it's been a lot of oil and energy that's been bottled up for a long time. So having that capability to then go and develop it finally is going to be huge. Now, it's all going to come down to the implementation, because unfortunately in years past, what happens is you can open stuff up, but it gets delegated to bureaucrats that are just going to slow walk it, and they'll just wait for the next administration to get in, and they'll kind of just wait out the clock. I am really curious to see what they're going to be doing in order to expedite this and actually make it happen, because the permits might be there, some stuff might be greenlit for them to go and develop, but it takes a long time for these larger enterprises to actually get going and gain momentum and actually, get boots on the ground. And usually it's going to take more than 4 years. So I'm curious to see how this develops. Another thing to keep in mind also, the places where you actually go and refine this oil are down in California. And supposedly, from what I've heard, they've been shut down for repairs and safety issues. So even though we have a lot of our oil industry up here that might be chomping at the bit, ready to go, we're not getting a whole lot of cooperation from other people from across the state. So all that is going to impact it. I don't know how it's going to play out, but if it does actually get through and comes to fruition the way that we're hoping it does, well, expecting it will, that would absolutely be a huge boon for the state. All right, the last big development I see for Alaska is talk about passing the Alaska Liquefied Natural Gas Project. So this is huge, and it would be just over 800 miles stretching from kind of Nikiski, Alaska, and making it out to the larger Asian markets, specifically looking at Japan. So this would be a really big deal. It's going to be about $44 million in order to make it happen, but it would be a gas pipeline. And I'm going to differentiate between oil that I was just talking about with the big, beautiful bill and liquefied natural gas. These are two completely separate things. And the fact that we're getting a pipeline to potentially transport that much liquefied natural gas over to Japan, that would be huge for us as far as commerce and creating jobs and a new tax base and all that good stuff. The thing we're really kind of waiting for at this point is getting the green light from Japan that they do want to move forward with this. But if it is passed and then we are able to come to a deal, that would be huge for the entire state. And really, we'd have issues I'm sure we'd run into at that point, but they'd be issues coming, problems from abundance and not of, the opposite. And kind of the problems I'm talking about, and this is really looking at the oil exploration and also the liquefied natural gas. The problem for Alaska that it has kind of in the long term is that when we get all this revenue coming into the state through taxes and all that, when our oil is really high and we're just booming, is that the state has a really bad tendency. I mean, other levels of government as well, but state specifically, because that's really where the taxes go to, is they really do have a tendency to really increase their spending, which that's all fine when we're booming, but when the boom goes away, or it's comes back for whatever reason, there's a change in administrations in Washington, then that can recede, and we're still stuck with a high cost of spending that's going on in Juneau. And that definitely is a problem, and it can bite us hard. So if we do in fact see this big boom in energy development and everything, my cautionary tale to everyone else is let's just really try to put pressure on the powers that be to not go crazy and just start spending a ton of money, because we're probably not going to have that forever. That's just the way that these energy markets work. Great little short-term thing. Let's use it and let's get the most we can out of it and be responsible. And let's not go crazy and put ourselves into a really bad financial spot later, because that's a problem of abundance, and we don't want that. Okay, this has been my video talking about the 4 biggest changes we have coming to Alaska. Hope it's been useful. Thanks for hanging out with me. We'll see you next time.